How's everybody? We have two different classes here, right? Mr. Whitlock's class, Mr. Stewart's class, yes? Which teacher is better, Mr. Whitlock or Mr. Stewart? If you think it's Mr. Whitlock, raise your hand. If you think it's Mr. Stewart, raise your hand. If you don't like either one of them, raise your hand. How many of you voted more than once? That's a felony. You can't do that. You can't do that. It's off to prison for you. Okay, I'm here to talk about politics. As you all know, tomorrow's kind of a big day, right? Tomorrow's election day. We will be going out to vote for president and some state senators. Everybody gets to vote on members of the House of Representatives. But we vote on governor, attorney general, a bunch of local offices like county commissioners. So it's a very, very full ballot. But I want to start with kind of what seems like a simple but odd question. I would like you to define for me the word fair. F-A-I-R, the word fair. Who wants to give me a definition of the word fair? Anybody? 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 Don't make me pick people. I am going to pick people. What's the definition of fair? Whatever it says on the monitor. One person was very, very smart. Look up on the screen first. If you look up here, it says that the definition of fair, this comes from Merriam-Webster, so it's like the dictionary that's in your classroom. It says marked by impartiality and honesty, free from self-interest. Free from self-interest. What does it mean to be self-interested, you know? What does it mean to be self-interested? But just for you, right? So if the cafeteria folks said, what would you like for lunch? If you were self-interested, you would say, the food I want. And that would not matter if people had allergies or anything else. It would just be the food you want. Is that fair? Yeah, that's fair. Is that marked by impartiality and free from self-interest? It is? Even though it's food just you want? Yeah. Who agrees that's fair? Who thinks that's fair? You're a lonely person right now. Nobody, well, one person agrees with you. Is that fair? Is what you wanted fair?
No.
Why not? Because it's just for him. So that's the idea of fair. Who agrees with this definition of fair? Do you like this? This makes sense? See a couple of hands up, thumbs up from somebody, some people. Why only this? Why only this? Okay, all right. Anybody disagree with this definition of fair? No? Okay. As you know, sometimes words have more than one definition. So, if you look, the second one says, conforming with the established rules. Is that different than having no self-interest? It says conforming with established rules. Do you think that's the same or different than the first definition?
Different, like, because you'll be playing, say you're racing somebody has a field there in front of you, that's not.
You're not even close.
But if they're at the same point, somebody might run faster, and they have, but they're conforming with the established rules, so it's different.
They're different, but it's the same word still, right? So words sometimes have slightly different meanings. Conforming with the established rules. In other words, if the rule for ordering food, what was going to be for lunch, if the rule was, you get to decide, is that fair? But if that's what the rules are, is that fair? You got one person on your side finally. You got one person. That's okay for you? Yeah?
You're still following the rules that have been established.
Being fair sometimes simply means following the rules. Now, does that rule make sense that he gets to decide lunch for everybody?
Not exactly, but by that rule, yes, it does.
So by that rule, it's fair. By some objective standard, it's not. Is that what you're saying? Okay, interesting. There are, let's see here. How many students in your class, Mr. Stewart, who are here today? 12. Mr. Whitlock, how many? 11. 11 in Mr. Whitlock's class, 12 in Mr. Stewart's class. If we were going to vote on something, should we have one vote for Mr. Stewart's class and one vote for Mr. Whitlock's class? Why not? Why not?
Because everyone should get a say in their vote.
Everyone should get a say in their vote. Good question. If you got to vote within Stewart's class, if everyone in Mr. Stewart's class voted, and then that was the vote for Mr. Stewart's class, but the vote was not your vote, is that okay? You understand? Okay. Show of hands, who's in Mr. Stewart's class? Let me see you, let me see you. Ready? Which is better, chocolate or vanilla ice cream? Who says chocolate? 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Who says vanilla? 1, 2, 3. Okay, you said vanilla, right? And if we gave one vote for Mr. Stewart's class, vanilla would be the answer, right? Because that was what the majority said. But she said chocolate. Is that fair?
That's why in presidential elections, we should make it one vote. If it's one vote for Democrat, less than Republican, we should just let them take California. Winner takes all, they should count every single vote and everybody's right.
An argument for the popular vote already. Who knew you would get there this fast?
That's why the electoral college is great, because rural states have the same amount of say as, say, a more populated state.
Okay, she said that's why the electoral college is rigged, but what was the second definition of fair? Following the established rules. Does the electoral, do we follow the established rules when we follow the electoral college?
Yeah, but when you're looking at it objectively, when you get the definition of one, is not fair.
Hold on just a second. Different questions, everybody, okay? I'm going to ask you another ice cream question. So I need you to hold your hands up. I will count, but I'm not very fast at counting. So, chocolate, vanilla, what's the third flavor? Strawberry, okay. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. Those are your three options. Who says chocolate? 1, 2. Who says vanilla? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Who says strawberry? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. How many people are in the room right now? 23. How many votes did chocolate or vanilla get? 10. I'm not great at math, but is 10 a majority of 23? What's 23 divided by 2? Something 0.5. It's 11 and a half. Only 10 people said they wanted vanilla. So, is vanilla the majority? No, majority means that it's over 50%. What we're talking about is a word called plurality. Like the word plural, multiple, plurality. Plurality means you have the most votes, but not a majority, not 50% plus 1. Is everybody with me now? Does everybody understand? Okay, so, what kind of ice cream won? Vanilla. Should vanilla be the winner? Why? Because it got the most votes. But it didn't get a majority, right? No. Should majority matter? Should majority matter? That's the question. Do you have to get a majority in order to win an election? Who says you should need a majority? Through 50% plus 1 kind of thing to win. 1, 2. Who says, nah, just get the most votes and you're the winner? How come so many of you are not voting? Why didn't you vote? Did you need to understand the question, or you didn't have time to process it to get to an answer? All right, let's try this again. Should the person who wins an election have to get not only the most votes, but a true majority of votes? In other words, more than 50% of the total. Should somebody who wins an election have to get more than half of the vote? You said yes, because that clearly would be the most. There's no argument about it.
Yes, because we need to have not only, and the split got to the argument about ice cream, the split got to the argument about ice cream, then there's also the majority or more votes for strawberry or chocolate, and then we account for every country or class.
And that's what a majority gets you, so it should have to be 50%, as you can.
And also have the most votes.
Well, if you have 50%, you have the most votes. Yeah, okay. 50% or just the most votes? Because it seems more fair by which one of those words? Is it, and the word fair, we throw that word around a lot, don't we? And then when you have to stop and think about what it means, it's a little hard because we have two definitions up there. One says that it's free from self-interest, and the other one says we're just following the rules. So if we decided all you need is a plurality, the most votes, then that's following the rules, therefore it's fair. If, however, when you have 3, 4, 5 options to choose from, it might actually be in your self-interest to not make it a majority. I'll explain that in just a second.
Not everyone's going to agree on the vote, but if the rules are that more than the other person's amount of votes is who wins, and that's the winner of the dollar.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Those are the rules of the game. How many of you are in the chess club? You have a chess club this year?
Yes, but it's all Zoom.
Well, it's all Zoom. Okay. How many of you are on a sports team or play sports? What sport do you play? Cross-country and basketball. Are there any rules in basketball you do not like? What sport? Football. As a wide receiver, would you like to be able to use your hands a little more to kind of push off people? You don't like that rule, you're not supposed to, right? You'd like to change the rules, right? Should you be allowed to change the rules? Yeah, just for you or for everybody? For everybody. Okay. Another quick math lesson, all right? Let's say that you have 5 options to choose from. And if we say you have to have a majority, so 50% or more of the votes have to go to you in order to win, do you think that will be easier or harder with 5 options to choose from?
It'll be easier because you only have to get around, 21% of the population to vote for you.
If there are 5 options and everybody gets an equal share, that's only 20%, isn't it? So all you need is 20% and a little bit more, and then you're the winner. Everybody get the math there? That makes sense? Yes? If there are lots of people on the ballot, then getting to 50% is going to be very hard, isn't it?
There never are.
But there never are.
Well, there are, but usually it's down to one Democratic, one Republican, and then there's two other candidates usually that usually there's people that are not popular.
Hold that thought about popular. I'll come back in a second. Okay, now, the idea that there are only two major political parties. We kind of understand that, right? Democrats, Republicans. That's what we hear most about. You all did I Side With, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Whitlock's class did I Side With, right? They're giving me a thumbs up because he told me you did. So everybody here did it, right? Yes? Yes, okay. How many of you found that you liked a candidate who was not the Republican or the Democrat of X? How many of you picked somebody who was not a D or an R? Who did you pick?
I don't really know.
The Green Party. That's a real political party, isn't it? Yeah? And do you like the Green Party candidate?
I got used to it.
Okay, this is a great example. You are now getting ready to go vote. Lots of pressure on you. Because the fate of the entire world is in your hands. Are you going to vote for the Green Party candidate or the Democratic Party candidate?
I don't know, because I thought I was thinking of voting, but I voted for it, but I vote for I don't know, I don't know.
She says she's going to vote for the Green Party candidate because she likes them better. There was some policy position that made you say, this one's a little more important than that one, so you want to equal score, I'm going to vote for the Green Party. Kind of like that? Interesting. Now, here's what some voters do. Exactly this. They look at the candidates and they say, I'm going with this one because this is the one closest to where I stand on the issue. And that's actually something that we always hope will happen. What are the chances the Green Party candidate is going to win? Okay, we got some zeros out there. Let's give a small chance. I mean, it's a little itty chance. I mean, like this month, right? Yeah. See, this is what a lot of voters do. Voters show up to the polls, they're like, hey, you know what, I like the Green Party candidate, or I like the Libertarian candidate, or the Constitutional Party, or the Social, they pick all these other parties, but when they get to the machine and they actually have to vote, what do? They pick one of the two candidates who might actually win. Is that right? Is that how we should be picking things? You like that idea? You've seen the look on her face when the mic was coming at her. Sort of like that test in the eye doctor's office where they do this to you. She said, yeah, you like the way the system works. I don't remember what the question was anymore. Do you remember the question? No, you were just giving the answer so that I would walk away from you. Well done. Okay. If we know that voters are going to sort of toss out their option because they think it won't work, that they won't win, they'll go with their second favorite choice, is that a good way to... Should we do it this way? Yes, Sarah? You had an opinion.
No, because then that's the reason that nobody's party wins, because they decide that, oh, instead of the person I want to vote for, I'll vote for this person, so they don't win, because they're not voting for something.
We call that a self-fulfilling prophecy. Have you ever heard of that before? You think something won't happen, so that's what you believe will happen, and that's what happens, and then you keep going that way again and again and again. So you have voters who say, well, I like the Green Party candidate or the Libertarian or this, that, and the other thing, but they're not going to win. So I'll vote for one of these other two instead. And that then means that the Green Party candidate will get a lot of votes, the Libertarian will get a lot of votes, anybody else will get a lot of votes, and before you know it, son of a gun, it's just one of those two people wins. But I want to come back to this idea of majority again for just a second. Who thinks we should actually have to have a majority of votes in order to win? Who thinks just the most? Who's not voting? Several. Okay, quick show of hands. When you did, and this is in Whitlock's class, how many of you were surprised by your choice of candidate after you did I-Cycle? How many of you were like, oh, didn't think about that? Were you surprised? Yeah. Were you surprised? Yeah. Yeah. Do you mind telling us why you were surprised? Do you mind telling us why you were surprised?
I didn't even know they even
That becomes a problem then, doesn't it? And the way we do the election here, in almost every case, except at the national level and definitely in the state of Indiana, most votes win. End of story. Except for the electoral college. But there's an interesting way that some places do elections. They actually will do, they're required to get a majority of votes. So let's say that these three people are running for office, and this person gets 49.9999999% of the vote, and then these two divide up the other party. That's not the winner, is it? Because it's not 50%. So what happens then is the top two vote getters go to a runoff election. Because when you have a majority, or you only have two people, you can get to 50%. Everybody understand the math there? Pretty straightforward. You like that type of election? Would that make you more likely to vote for a non-Democrat or a Republican?
If there's three people, then it's more likely to vote for the person you want to vote. I would go for the person who wants to
And now we're getting to the idea of voters having more options. There's another style of voting called ranked order voting. Here's how this works. When you go in to vote, you actually rank the candidates in the order you like them. So in your case, you might have said Green Party candidate, and B, and then I don't know if you pick anybody else. You put them in order you like them. At the end of the night, when all the votes come in, they count up how many people got first place votes. And if somebody has 50%, they're declared the winner. But if they don't, they throw out the last vote. And then all the people who pick that person, their second favorite choice now gets the vote. And they keep doing this rounds and rounds and rounds of counting until somebody has a majority. So what ends up happening is more people come in and say, you know what, I like the Green Party, or I like the Libertarians, or I like this other party, so I'm putting them first. But my second favorite is my second favorite, my third favorite, my third favorite. It gives you a little more control and more likely to get people elected who are not from the major political parties. Who likes the concept here? I know it's kind of complicated. A couple of people, because it gives you more choice, doesn't it? You can actually say, I like the Greens for this reason, I'm going to vote for them. Yeah? That's not the way we do it. Let's take a look at something. How many of you recognize this map up here right now? What is that a map of? The political parties was more specifically what? The Electoral College from what year? That is the Electoral College from 2016. It says so right here, Electoral College 2016, actual vote. So who won the election in 2016? Donald Trump. What did he win in 2016? The Electoral College vote. Who won the popular vote? Yell it out. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Take a look at that map up there. Where are big cities located? Name a big city. New York, I heard. Name another big city.
Chicago.
California's a state, name a city.
I said Chicago.
Los Angeles, yes. Chicago,
You said it. He couldn't hear you.
New York, we already heard of New York. And if you look, New York, blue. Chicago's in Illinois, that's blue. Los Angeles in California, that's blue. How many big cities are there in Wyoming? The answer is 0. Wyoming has a very small population. Actually, the population of Wyoming is smaller than the population of New York City. And so if a candidate's going to do really well in New York, they're going to get all the electoral votes in New York, but none of the electoral votes in Wyoming. Now, you talked about the Electoral College, right? Both classes, Mr. Stewart's class, Mr. Whitlock, you talked about the Electoral College. Some of you should be nodding yes right now. What is the Electoral College? How does it work?
Each state holds an election, and then each state has the amount of points each state has is equivalent to the amount of representatives and senators they have, and each state holds an election. So, and then the winner of that state's election gets put into the electoral college. So say Texas is blue, then all those states go, all the points from there goes into the Democrat side. And if they're red, they go to the Republican side.
Indiana has 9 members of the House of Representatives. Every state has 2 senators. So how many votes does Indiana have in the Electoral College? 11, very good. If somebody wins the popular vote in Indiana, how many votes do they get in the Electoral College? 11, very good. There are 2 states that do it differently, Maine and Nebraska. Maine and Nebraska do it differently. We'll set them aside for a moment. This is the way campaigns structure themselves. They try to figure out how to get to 270 electors in the college. That's their goal. Not to win the popular vote, it's to win the Electoral College. I am going to change this map to look like this. This is a map that has taken a look at what all of the experts are saying is likely to happen in the election. If you see something that is dark red, people are really confident that the state is going to go for the Republican candidate. If it's dark blue, it's going to go for the Democratic candidate. If it's light blue, it's leaning in that direction. If it's light red, it's leaning to the Republican. And if it's gold, I'll call that gold, they don't know. Too close to call. Too close to call. So if you wanted to win the election, where would you campaign? I know it's a little hard for folks to see in the back. Where would you campaign? Florida is a swing state right here. See, it's gold, and it's worth 29 electors in the Electoral College. Remember, you need 270. So if you win that, you pick up 29 points. The estimates right now, the experts are saying that it looks like Joe Biden will win, whether he wins Florida or not. So we make it say Florida for which candidate? Joe Biden. Let's see what happens when we turn Florida, we'll turn it light blue. How's that? We won't make it real dark blue. What just happened to Biden's total number of electors? It went up to 319. How many does he need to win? 270. Now, just for kicks, let's figure out what Donald Trump has to do in order to win. What does Donald Trump have to do in order to win? Because he's behind right now under this scenario, isn't he? So first of all, we're going to give Florida to Trump just for a second. Is that okay? Okay. It's only at 192. What else does he need to do? Let's turn all of the swing states to Donald Trump very quickly, all right? How many electors does he have?
351.
He needs 270, so something else has to happen, right? He needs 19 more electors. Where can we get this?
Right, only in one state. Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania's worth 20, isn't it? So let's turn that one red for a second. And suddenly, Trump has how many? 71. Suddenly Donald Trump has won the presidency. That's the way presidential campaigns think. Now, if you want to make sure he doesn't win, now you're the strategist for the Biden campaign, okay? I'm going to reset the map. What does Joe Biden need to do to make sure he wins? Florida. He wins Florida, he's at 319 he's won, right? So on election night, when you're watching the television, watch to see what happens in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Because if Biden wins those, he doesn't necessarily have to worry about those other swing states. Does this make sense to everybody? But it still comes down to this. You don't like the Electoral College, do you? You think it should just be a popular vote. Because that's the fair thing?
I feel like we should have just these 11 to 23 people decide, oh, this person should be president. I feel like you should all have equal say, no matter if you're a part of the electoral college or you're just a normal person.
Are you saying we should get rid of the Electoral College? Yes. There actually is, that the Electoral College is in the Constitution. And so some people say in order to change the rules, remember our definition of fair earlier? If you're playing by the rules, that's fair, right? There's that's in the rules, Electoral College is in the Constitution, so we would have to change the Constitution to have different rules, would we? Just yell it out, yes or no? She says we have to amend the Constitution in order to have different rules. Does that make sense? Except, there's a tricky little thing. Remember I told you that Maine and Nebraska are not winner-take-all states? Other states could choose to do the same thing. Then you don't have to amend the U.S. Constitution. You just have to change the law in each of those states. And believe it or not, there is a movement where there are 18 states so far that have voted to basically say their electors in a college will go to whoever wins the popular vote nationwide. But that will only go into effect when enough states have agreed to do it if that's who's going to win. Those of you who are fans of the popular vote, there are a couple of ways that are being worked on. One, amendment to the Constitution. Two, this coalition of states that wants to change the rules. Now, we have about a minute to go if I'm reading the clock right? Yes? Anybody have any questions for me? Yes?
Why has the elections gone from, oh, I really like this candidate, to we'll just get less worse?
That's a good question. Why is it now a contest of the least painful option? Some of that is because of the way we campaign now. Campaigns are so negative that we're only ever hearing negative things about people. And once we realize these are flawed human beings, we're sort of like, well, what's the lesser of two evils? I guess I'll go this way. So that's part of it. We hear a lot of negative campaigning. In fact, outside money, not the campaigns themselves, but other groups that advertise, the overwhelming majority of their ads are negative. And so that really then sinks into our head as negative. Any other questions? Good question. Any other questions? No? No? Well, thank you all very much for being in class today. Nice to see you all, even if I couldn't see half of your faces because of your mask.